She gets a home attendant. She gets a Polish woman. She was not Jewish, she was Catholic. And before you know it, my mother is saying she's like her sister to her. My mother's last words, make sure you take care of Clara. They don't like the Poles, they hate the Poles. You know, my mother said she was like a sister. What is the WJRO? Who does it represent? Because all it's going to do is stir up more hatred of Jews in Poland. Is that what we want to do? For what?
Polska złożyła swój raport do ustawy 447 do Departamentu Stanu USA. W tym miejscu jesteśmy. Czego możemy się spodziewać? Obecna dyskusja o pieniądzach, roszczeniach, mieniu to dla Polski jednocześnie zagrożenie, ale też i szansa. O wielu rzeczach możemy teraz mówić głośno. Historia Michała Kruka z Przemyśla to też historia Aleksandra Hirschberga, któremu Kruk chciał wtedy pomóc. Obaj wiszą na jednej szubienicy. Na tym zdjęciu nie widać ani Niemców, ani Rosjan. Nie widać sprawców. Ani jedni, ani drudzy nie zapłacili jeszcze Polsce za śmierć obu jej obywateli. A czy nie taka powinna być kolej rzeczy? Jedno jest pewne. Do tematu roszczeń żydowskich trzeba podejść poważnie. Oznacza to też otwarcie poważnej dyskusji o historii, pamięci i skrzywdzonych. O Polakach i Żydach.
As Vladimir Putin continues threatening Ukraine, European countries are ramping up their efforts to provide support to Kyiv. I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching TVP World News. Despite a recent calming message from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, diplomatic efforts are underway across Europe to deter Vladimir Putin from attacking Ukraine. Poland's Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki is the latest among European leaders to visit Kyiv as the quest for building political unity among European allies in the face of Russian threat goes on.
As allies convene around Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky is occupied by rounds upon rounds of diplomatic talks about the future of his country. Western European affiliates have reached out to Ukrainian officials with proposals of aid, both of military and economical nature. In a recent interview, UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss emphasized Britain's commitment to Ukraine.
Well, we are looking at a very tough economic sanctions. We are working with our allies and partners, including Europe and the United States.
Additional statements of support came from other European countries.
Our strongest weapon is and remains our unity. We need to let the pressure we have built up together sink in, while at the same time fighting off all outside attempts to split us apart.
German support, however, might end on words and around 5,000 helmets the country sent to Kiev. During a news conference, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke about German involvement in aiding Ukraine or lack thereof.
It's a serious signal. It's a serious challenge. I don't wish for Germany, I don't wish for the German people that you feel the same as we do, that you will ever feel this at the borders of your country.
With emotions still running high, Western officials emphasize the need to stay united in order to preserve peace and stability on the continent.
Meanwhile, the US administration is closely monitoring the situation around Ukraine. Top US General Mark Milley warned of the immense civilian casualties a Russian onslaught could cause, while the country's president, Joe Biden, has vowed to boost NATO's eastern flank with additional troop presence. As Russia seems poised to launch an attack, NATO allies continue to push for a diplomatic solution to the crisis.
President Joe Biden once again stated that the United States will be sending additional troops and equipment to NATO's eastern flank, although not a lot. This is a response to a constantly increasing tensions surrounding Ukraine and the threat of a Russian invasion.
President Joe Biden announced that he will move American troops to Eastern Europe in the near term, but added it wouldn't be a lot. On Monday, Pentagon informed that 8,500 soldiers is placed on high alert, and anytime those forces will be ready to be deployed in Europe.
Pentagon official added that Russia has now amassed sufficient forces near the borders of Ukraine to conduct a full-blown attack.
As you know, for months now, Russia has been deploying forces to Crimea and along Ukraine's border, including in Belarus. While we don't believe that President Putin has made a final decision to use these forces against Ukraine, he clearly now has that capability.
While it is still unclear how many American soldiers will be sent to NATO's eastern flank to boost the alliance defense capabilities, US officials announced several dozen units have been put on high preparedness in case they need to be transported to Europe.
These units, all told, include medical support, aviation support, logistics support, and of course, combat formations. I want to just underscore one other note, and that is, as I said many times earlier this week, these forces are on a heightened preparedness to deploy.
While Western officials attempt to find a diplomatic solutions to the crisis, Russia continues preparing for war. Moscow has recently sent additional blood supplies and other medical equipment, which could be used to treat the wounded, to the borders with Ukraine. According to experts, the Russians are not likely to attack in the near future, but the threat should not be underestimated.
I would not expect the invasion in coming days, and I think it's not certain whether Russians will attack at all, which does not mean it is very serious. It is very credible military force. We are observing even increasing capabilities, combat capabilities, as well as logistics. So very credible threat, and which need to be deterred.
Russia has now amassed more than 120,000 troops near Ukraine. The United States and other NATO allies are standing united behind Kyiv and Ukrainian territorial integrity and warn Moscow that they are not afraid to impose harsh economic sanctions in the event of an invasion.
With Moscow building up its forces in Ukraine's vicinity,